Hello, welcome to Sociology of Cars podcast. I'm your host, Jimmy XAE. You're listening to the 8th episode brought to you by 0 to 60 Studios in San Dimas, California. My guest today is Chris, a fitness professional whom many pro drivers go to. Chris is well known in the industry for being able to come up with programs designed for pro drivers, karting drivers. We've also got Ryan on the show today, who is the engineering test driver as well as performance driving coach from our 3rd episode. I am so grateful that the both of you are on the show today.
Glad to be here, Jimmy.
Heck yeah, very excited. Thanks for having me.
So why don't we go for a round of introductions? For starters, Ryan, what should the national audience know about you? Who the heck are you?
Great question. So I'm an enthusiast. I'm a driver. I'm an instructor. I just have a love and passion for driving and cars.
Chris, what about you? What's your life's purpose?
Well, I am an ex-professional go-kart racer who found the love for fitness late in my teens and really developed a lot of fitness habits young, and it really helped me catapult in my karting career. And I realized how important fitness was and health and nutrition in my sport growing up, and how much it helped me growing up as a young man into, a father now, a husband. And after getting out of go-kart racing, I really focused on learning more about fitness and health. And I opened my own gym about 9 years ago. Got back into racing about 5-6 years ago, working with different karting teams, and noticed that fitness was still very undervalued in our sport. And it was a dream of mine to develop fitness programs for not just men and women for weight loss programs, but always wanted to work with drivers and, help them to see the path on how valuable fitness can be. And that's where I am at now. And Chris G Coaching is now a little bit over 2 years old. I've helped over 400 clients, a lot of them drivers, get more healthy, more fit, more active, consistent, and develop the healthy lifestyle programs.
Wow, that's quite a bit of an accomplishment.
Yeah, thank you. I raced go-karts for over 30 years. My dad owned a go-kart track growing up in Cuddybackville, New York. I raced go-karts professionally from 2002 to 2004 out here in California for a company called Track Magic Racing. I loved it. I was a multi-time national champion. And that's where I really got my groove, in obviously motorsports.
What was that trigger point like for you? Like, when was the first time where you went, oh, cars are cool, I might want to get into it?
Well, I was about 5 years old when I got my first go-kart. It was August of '86. And there was just something about just driving and the love of the whole sport, karting itself, and how it developed work ethic, and it developed competition and confidence in me, and being able to travel with my dad throughout the years as well. And just there's something about being at the racetrack with other people, like-minded individuals like yourself, and being able to push your limits in all areas. So that's where, later on in my karting career, my fitness really came into play. Was I just knew if you took care of your mind and your body, and, you do everything else better in life when you're more fit, when you're more focused.
Wow, what I'm hearing is that you really focused on this bonding aspect of it. Coming of age, becoming a man, the bonding between you and your father and your teammates, wellness. You have such a holistic approach to karting and fitness, it seems. Can you give us a rundown of all of the cars you've owned throughout the years?
Well, I was very fortunate. My first actual car, and I still have it to this day, when we were 16, my dad tracked it down and helped me get it. We have a 69 Camaro. And I still have it. It's in my garage. Drove it all through high school in the Northeast.
Wow.
Going through snowstorms if I had to with it. My best friend and I, he passed away about 3 years ago, but he was probably the best mechanic I know. He came up with a crazy idea in 2005 that we need to take the motor out, take the whole powertrain out, and we're going to buy an LS1 out of a crashed 2004 GTO from this salvage yard. And I was young, I was like 23, and we're going to drop $9,000 on this crashed powertrain in this junkyard down in South Philly, and we're going to put it in the Camaro. So I have an LS1 powertrain 69 Camaro in my garage. So when I moved back from California to Jersey after I got done racing, obviously didn't have a lot of money because you can't make a lot of money racing go-karts. And this older lady was selling a 1988 Cutlass Supreme, mint with like 24,000 miles on it, the sofa seats. It was probably for 2 years, that car was awesome to drive, just smooth, comfortable. And it got me to the point where I could buy my Tahoe after that. And yeah, those are my cars. So nothing like really extravagant.
Yeah. Well, so, Chris, the reason why you're here today is because I really wanted to consult with you on some of the fitness stuff. So I gave my dad a driving experience. I drove him in the canyons, and this is 3 years ago we were talking about. He threw up afterwards. I cannot for the life of me understood why. And but later on I gave some of my other friends in my SUV rides too in the canyons. They were all screaming. I didn't understand why. And later on, they told me that their innards were being just thrown around in their bodies. And then that's the moment when I realized, like, wow, I have a way stronger core than all of them. And that's my first lesson into why fitness is so important for driving. It might not seem related, right? And at the height of my fitness career, not career, but fitness journey, I realized that every time after I get out of my Miata, my core is shut down, my glutes are shut down. And I have this thing called open scissor, which means that I'm hyperextending my back. But so it also depends on the adjustability of my seat in my car. If the lumbar support is too much, then I'm hyperextending my back. Then I have this open scissor over time. But if there's no lumbar, let's say if I'm sitting in a bucket seat, over time, I'm basically bending my upper half of the body, then I'm overusing my back. So all of that is so intricate, especially when I'm turning. I'm using the side of my abs. I think that's called the obliques or something like that.
Obliques, yes.
Yeah. And these are the things that people don't really talk about. And where should my shoulder blades be? Because if I lock in my shoulder blades, then I can't really turn anymore. So you kind of have to give it a little bit of a give. That's around the moment when I was asking my friend, like, hey, what do you do about these kind of things? And my pro driver friend said that we all have a pro, coach when it comes to racing stuff. I used to work in the surf industry, and I know a couple of people who had a surf gym coming up with exercises for surfers, right? But there was also a stigma of people saying, well, the only thing that can help you surf better is that if you surf more. Why do you need to go to a gym? So that was, my friend's biggest challenge when establishing that business. So when I saw Chris, you on Instagram and having so many people interacting with you, you're definitely popular. I just cannot wait to see what your journey is like. So let's just take it very slow. How did you get into fitness?
So when I was 17, I realized how important it is to be in good shape for driving karts, right? And, when you're racing karts over the summer all over the Midwest and the humidity is just through the roof and it's hot out, the more physically fit you are, the better mentally you're going to be, right? Towards the end of those race weekends, there was karting weeks where you're at the race for literally 6-7 days straight. So when I realized this as a younger man, that I need to get in better shape, I came across a NASCAR driver wrote a book on fitness. My favorite NASCAR driver growing up was Mark Martin. He was famous for driving the number 6 Roush Valvoline Ford. And he wrote a book in the late 80s about his fitness aspect to things, his outlook on fitness. And his jack man, who was an ex-NFL football player, wrote this book with him. And there's pictures of all the exercises. There's explanations for certain muscle groups, why you're doing certain things, and how they can benefit you in the car. And when I saw this, I said, wow, I am an athlete. Because growing up, racing full-time, I never had a chance to play sports, right? But then I always realized that what I do is a sport. And I finally realized that I need to start taking care of myself like an athlete would. So I started going to the gym at the high school. And in the summertime, we had a beautiful facility. The football players were there as well. And the football coach was always trying to get me to join the football team. Me, 133 pounds soaking wet if I was lucky, right? But all in all, working out in that gym and really understanding what, building muscle is all about, endurance is all about, and really learning the dynamics of, what training really meant. I then joined a gym, and ever since I was about 17, 18, I've been very, very heavily involved in all sorts of fitness. And I've always been pretty physically fit. I'm not like a triathlon person or anything like that, and don't look at me to go run a marathon anytime soon. But I've always really, truly loved like what taking care of your mind and body does for you in all areas of your life. In kart racing, they're long days. You're at the track 10, 12 hours a day, walking around the pits in the heat, in the cold, whatever it is. By the end of that weekend, you're just exhausted. And it's not always just about what's happening in the seat. You got to be pretty much prepared for the whole entire weekend of what happens. Because when you show up on Thursday for the first round of practice, you want to bring the same driver that's there Thursday on Sunday. In order to do that, you got to be mentally prepared with a program that's going to set you up to have that type of energy level throughout each day. So when I started working out more, not only did my confidence go up, you just feel like you can conquer so much more when you're in shape. And when I was at those races where it was 95 degrees in the middle of Indiana and 90% humidity, and everybody in their suits and helmets are on the grid ready to go off for the final, and I just see kids taking water bottles from their mechanics and pouring them down the thing, and I'm like, I don't want anything, I'm ready to go. The hotter, the better. And I already knew when I got to the track that physically I had most of those people beat before we even got on track.
When did you realize that this could be a viable business?
It was 2022, and I was working for Nash Motorsports, which is a big kart team out here in the SoCal. I was very involved in my gym that I own's Instagramming, and I was showing people my daily routines. I'm up at 4 a.m. when we're at the races, working 12, 14-hour days. No matter what, I get up early. I hit the hotel gym, or while everybody's eating pizza under the tent, I was eating stuff that was a little bit more nutritious, even though I love pizza, don't get me wrong. But always taking care of myself, always promoting on my gym Instagram that, look, this is what I do every day. And what happened was in like mid 2022, people started reaching out to me at the races, parents, crew chiefs, tuners. They were all reaching out like, hey, I've been watching on Instagram and, I kind of need a program written for me. And I started writing little programs for people, just basic fitness things to follow, helping them out with some meal plans and just kind of holding them accountable at certain periods of the month, when I would see them at the races, how's it going, update me. So it was probably about June of 22. My wife came up with an idea. She's like, I was telling her about all the success I was getting with these few parents. She said, you should become an accountability coach. She always knew I wanted to implement more fitness into the racing community, especially karting, because that's where I was from and involved in. So I started putting together the business plan, and I realized that everybody needs fitness, not just drivers, but I could do both. I could do regular men's and women for weight loss or muscle building or just lifestyle, but I can incorporate what my passion is, which is training drivers. So fortunately, when we went live with it at the SCUSA Super Nationals in November of 22, I brought all the fitness equipment, indoor rowers, and I did something that nobody's ever done before. We set up a warm-up station at the go-kart track, and we had about probably 15 drivers just doing warm-ups and kind of showing people what fitness is about at the racetrack. And after that, it just took off, and here we are now. I got a whole team of people working for Chris G Coaching and different coaches, and doing badass podcasts like this. And it's been a blessing.
Wow. Nothing beats being able to combine both of your passions and just creating something so unique and so niche. So what would you say are some of the main focus when it comes to driver's fitness? What are some of the big categories that you focus on?
Everybody's different, right? Like I have drivers who have been working out for years that come to me for programs. And then I have drivers that come to me that have never even been in a gym. They barely even have ever touched a weight before.
Wow.
So you have to really kind of dissect the individual, and every program is built out personally for them, right? So we do things like we monitor what their activity is now. We obviously dive really heavily into their nutrition before we even discuss getting them on the program, because you'll have people that quote unquote eat healthy, but they don't know what they're eating, right? You have people that I have drivers right now, I'm not going to name any of them, but who have Starbucks Frappuccinos 7 days a week.
Oh, geez.
And what do you have for lunch? Well, I had, this fast food joint, that fast food joint. They're bachelors, most of them, or even the girls. Well, the girls are badass. The girls are tough. And most of the drivers that I work with, they have a really good idea of what they should be eating a little bit more than the men. But, it really depends on the person. Every program is built out for the individual. One of my drivers, just an example, and I'll bring him up because he's the one that knew about you and stuff and reached out and told me about, your podcast and stuff, was Nicky Hayes. And Nicky's in Valencia, Spain right now.
Wow.
Driving the Lambos. He's doing amazing. So, when Nicky came to me, he had a personal trainer, right? And the personal trainer, there's a place in this world for personal trainers, no doubt. I own a gym. There's personal trainers there that utilize our space. But the difference between a personal trainer and having a coach with a coaching team and a program is we make sure we go over every variable. It's not just about the nutrition. It's not just the fitness. We work on their lifestyle. We work on their structure. Because when you're a driver, you're a little bit different than most athletes because our events are a little bit more sporadic, right? And they're longer weekends, they're shorter test days. And, you have things like where maybe you get a chance to go to a podcast, but you have to stay up with them with their schedules because it's easy for drivers to get on something like a program and then get off it because their schedule gets all bonkers, right? Mm-hmm. So, a perfect example is we make sure that, when you're at the races, it's about eating right, getting good sleep, getting your warm-ups in, and then you get a day off when you return, but then it's right back to work. And we do Chris G coaching. I do every other week, we do driver debriefs and driver meetings where all my drivers can hop into a live Zoom call in my office and we discuss the weekend, any issues they're having, things like that. So it's, there's a lot to it. So to get back to your question, sorry, I went off on a tangent. It's about keeping drivers well-balanced. You take somebody who's really a beginner. My job is to build the foundation, strength, keeping them well-balanced with endurance, with certain type of circuit training workouts. You take someone who's more advanced. It's very similar, but just more advanced style training sessions, and also monitoring their nutrition is key. Positive habits is key.
No matter what we do, I think core is important for every driver, no matter what their condition is.
I would say it's overall everything. Everybody always brings up either core or neck.
Right, or legs, glutes.
Yeah. Legs are, everything is involved. And that's why you got to be well balanced, because when you're well balanced in all areas, you're going to be beautiful in the car. You're going to have every aspect, because when you work your core, most time when you're working your core, you're working other muscle groups as well. You're never just, obviously, people will do a plank, or they'll do some sort of leg lift, or they'll do some sort of weighted type crunches, and they think it's just core, but you're always utilizing something else. And core is extremely important, but it's also about, cardio is so key, because if you don't have a healthy heart, how good are you going to be in the car?
Right.
That's what drives the blood to your body.
Right. What about ankle?
Mobility is also a big factor. We don't push mobility too hard in the beginning because we want to get the people on a routine. But then you start incorporating band work and stretch work and recommending them take yoga classes and things like that. And because you don't want to be cramping up in the race car when it's 120 degrees in there in the middle of summertime, and your ankles are doing a lot of work.
Right.
So there's so many areas of the body that you have to work in certain ways. And that's why being well balanced, you kind of hit and target all these areas.
Right. Chris, last summer when I first met my friend Ben, he was driving a matte black Ioniq 5N. Those things are faster than Lamborghinis, right? I was in my Mazda CX-5, and for some reason I decided to chase him down. And as you know, SUVs are not designed for racing, so the seating position is terrible. So I had to compensate my leg for my steering position. At the end of whatever drive you call that. We bonded. It was super fun. But I had an appointment after that. When I showed up at my client's office, I can barely walk out of the car. Like I fell off the car, basically. And they have to like help me get into the building. And that's the moment when I realized like, wow, ankle is so important for trail braking stuff because otherwise it's just constantly flexing. So I was wondering, have you ever met any driver who has a broken ankle or like a hurt ankle because of the constant trail braking?
I have not. But let me say this first. He told a story about how he had his dad in the car going through a canyon earlier and his dad threw up. I want to let you know, hearing all your driving stories, I will never drive in the car with you as a passenger ever. Let's just get that clear. But no, I haven't heard anybody having ankle issues or anything when it came to trail braking and things like that. However, you know, your calf muscles are so vital when it comes to working the pedals. You're utilizing, like you said, your glutes, your quads, everything. The big thing there, it sounded like almost like you were slightly dehydrated.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So like hydration's a big key, and that has a lot to do with the cramping in certain areas like that. You know, like a lot of guys will get like a lot of forearm pump or some sort of cramp like that because you're dehydrated. That has a lot to do with it. But I've never had anybody who has complained to me about, you know, their ankle tightening up or something. I think if any of my drivers ever said that to me, I'd probably, you know, give them some wisecrack comment like, well, you know, you missed 3 workouts last week. That's probably the reason. But no, I have not.
You know, Chris, I think the solution to that would be you sit in the car and I'll demonstrate to you exactly what I did last time and have you tell me what happened there with my ankle.
Yeah, okay, that might help if I see it. Exactly. In our sports, like all of them, we're all searching for hundredths of a second. Whatever we can do to get faster on track, we're looking to do. Well, a lot of people that aren't at that level don't look at themselves usually. They look at the product. What can I do for the product? What can I do to get faster on track with more horsepower? Or how can we tune this carburetor better or get better fuel functioning, right? A pro looks at everything and then realizes if I take care of myself better, that's only going to help the person that's controlling the machine that we're trying to make faster. I find that when you get to that level and you're searching for every little 100th of a second, the drivers realize that they need to start looking at themselves too.
Well, can you be too fit? Is there such a thing called too fit, too buff that you can't fit in the car?
Well, I mean...
Like, do you have to be skinny?
No, I don't think so. I don't think Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to, you know, get in an Indy car anytime soon. And at the same time, I don't think there's too fit if you're more focused on having the top level of endurance and strength that you need for the sport is what really truly matters. I think, you know, physique wise, I've never really like thought about putting a bodybuilder in it.
Right.
In a go-kart and said, there you go.
Well, you know, Chris, that's why I sacrificed my my buff physique because I was thinking that maybe smaller is better.
Oh.
You know, I always tell people that when I drive my Miata, my posture get destroyed, right? So I sacrifice my good looks. I sacrifice my perfect body for the love of driving. But now knowing you, it's like I didn't have to sacrifice nothing.
No, you're good.
I should have met you a little bit earlier.
Yeah, if you guys see Jimmy, he's like 400 pounds right now. And he all he's been doing is trying to give us Girl Scout cookies since I got here. I'm like, I'm on prep right now. I can't.
Well, so Chris, here's the thing. So a lot of us are canyon warriors. When I go on dates and people ask me like, oh, what do you do for a living? I say I'm a race car driver. And they're like, oh, the spec Miata? Which one? No, the Angeles Crest Cup. Because for canyon warriors, canyon driving is the equivalent of a track day. It's very nerve-wracking, right? So the order that I go into the corner is like I see the corner coming, I calculate the braking distance, right? And as I'm going to the corner, I pray. And I'm like, oh my God, can I make it in there? And then when I feel the yaw, I'm like literally just blacked out a little bit. And out of the corner, I'm like, oh, thank God I made it. So a lot of that feels like I'm like, finished like a Le Mans or something. So for canyon warriors like myself, can we benefit from your program too? That we're not pro drivers, but we're pro drivers on Angeles Cup?
Anybody is going to benefit when they're on a fitness program. And it would be fun to put you on a fitness program because you're in pretty good shape.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I think that anybody should hit up Chris to see how Chris' program can benefit them, not just in general, but also the driving portion of it too. So I think that's a good segue to a little break. When we come back, Chris will help Ryan break down some of the things that maybe we can all improve on track. You're listening to Sociology of Cars podcast. This is Jimmy XIE. Hey, Chris and Ryan, I just want to tell you more about our sponsor, 0 to 60 Studios in San Dimas, California. So this studio that we're in right now is actually for rent. Right now, we can see through the window to the first floor where we have the 1,000 square foot sim racing studio with leather sofa lounge. Everything leather is always better, right? Right next door, we have the Auto Lab where Chris and Joe do PPF, tinting, vinyl wrap, all kinds of stuff. They also launched the Auto Works. They do mechanical works now. And right next to us is actually a printing shop. You can design stuff for your office, design stuff for your car meets. And downstairs in the sim racing, it's not just sim racing. You can also host your private events, birthday parties, car meets, corporate events, anything you could think of. 0 to 60 is like your one-stop shop for all of the driving enthusiasts. There's plenty of parking outside of the warehouse. That's important for a lot of car people. Chris, when you first walked in, what did you think of the place?
Unreal. First thing I saw was the setup of the Sims, and I was like, well, we're going to be simming after this, that's for sure. No, really clean, friendly, welcoming, very stylish, very, very cool. Very cool setup.
There's a Lamborghini parked downstairs.
I know. You said I could drive it after this too, right?
Maybe, yes.
I thought you said that.
Ryan, what do you think of the place?
It's amazing. It's definitely like it's like a playground for adults.
Wow. Next time when you come over, maybe you'll find another car here. So head over to 0 to 60 on Instagram for more information. Wow, Chris, you're definitely very knowledgeable in your field. Especially, I just don't get to see a lot of pro drivers who are also fitness coaches. You're just a renaissance man. And Ryan, you're an engineering test driver, and you're also a performance driving coach. I know that you have some burning questions for Chris.
I definitely do. So, Chris, my first question for you.
All right.
What kind of foods do you recommend? And do you lean towards balanced meals or supplements, or maybe a combination of both?
Great question. We just talked about this a little bit. And what I do is everything is balanced out with starting off with my protein intake. So I love lean proteins. I'm big on meat. I do eat meat. And, 96 lean ground beef, ground turkey, chicken, shrimp, certain white fish. Not a big fish person, but yeah. And I do have certain supplements that I like to incorporate. I'm not against having a protein bar, or if I'm at a gas station on the road and, I have to have something that's higher in protein, having a core protein drink. But the big thing is it is all about eating as many whole foods as I possibly can. I do monitor what carbs I eat, what fats, how much vegetables each day I intake. And it's all about just being consistent. Like, I'm not saying that I'm always tracking my foods, but I do try to stay very well balanced with making sure that my body's getting the proper amount of protein that it needs so that my muscles can continue to grow and thrive. And obviously with the carbs and fats, that helps you with the energy levels. So, when it comes to supplements, it really just depends on how the individual's diet is structured. But I do say that most of my food is more whole foods.
Nice.
And don't get me wrong, I like a good In-N-Out cheeseburger once in a while too, and pizza. So.
Wow.
Okay.
I feel like a lot of the nutrition advice that you gave us is not just for driving, but it's just for life in general. Fitness shouldn't be a thing that we get into. Fitness is life.
Definitely, for sure.
Yeah. How would you describe breathing techniques? Like, is that something that you push on your drivers? Is that something you recommend, or a technique you offer?
What I used to do when I would race, and I actually do preach this to a lot of my drivers that have that mental block on race day and can't even get a meal down on race day because they're so just into the nerves and the adrenaline's flowing. I've always used the approach where every few minutes, I always love a nice, good, deep breath. And I'll hold it for probably about a 5 to 10 second window and then release slowly. And that always has helped me keep my heart rate at a moderate level, obviously, especially on race day. I think it helps with focus. But there are some really good breathing tactics that you can, look into. I'm not huge into meditation, but on those stressful work weeks, I do recommend trying the Headspace app. Really just helps you to kind of understand like how to keep your heart rate at a moderate level so that your focus can be where it needs to be instead of focusing on how your stomach is feeling maybe on race day with nerves. I always tell people, if you're not nervous, especially the kids, if you're not nervous, then let's go home because you don't care.
Right. So what about during the drive? Because I know that some people were saying, oh, when you're driving, you should still kind of almost match the driving style with how you're breathing, something like that.
Like for me, it was just natural. I've never really thought about my breathing.
Got it.
What about you, Ryan?
I'm a breath holder, I discovered. So I didn't grow up behind the seat, but more so behind the sim.
Yeah. Okay.
So I have the concepts down, but then when I applied it in real life, I realized just like, I've had surgeries and I had to recover. So a physical trainer, the trainer would tell me, don't hold your breath. You need to breathe in and breathe out. So I found myself holding my breath and I realized, I just need to breathe. So it's more of a mental block than anything for me. But I had to literally tell myself, you need to breathe in and then breathe out. And then even what you mentioned practicing beforehand, I've noticed during is important. But then after a while, the rhythm and the flow of your driving, I notice I just kind of match that pace. It's not like fast, short breaths, but just nice and slow and just kind of flow like everything else,
The whole process of cornering is like doing Kung Fu. You breathe in and you just kind of, it's like a Tai Chi, right? You play with that rhythm. Maybe because my car has a lot of body roll. So it really feels like I'm just, doing this like jujitsu with my car. Quite meditative. And sometimes I would even say, because I like to hold my steering wheel a little bit, the ball part of my hand was on the edge of it, so I can like monitor it a little bit more closely, right? And sometimes when the battle gets so intense on track, I would even say, hey, like I would do like a hui hui kind of sound. Makes me feel really good. It feels like a retired Kung Fu master.
If you guys saw him right now, when he did the height, he did a karate chop.
Yeah, the motion down.
I love it. Ryan, you were telling me earlier that sometimes you lose sleep before a track day or a drive. Could you elaborate on that?
A lot of anxiousness. It's really like so obviously I mentioned sim. I prep before a race, but also just kind of mentally looking at what my goal is for that day, what I'm trying to accomplish. And then I don't know what it is, but even though I've done all the prep work that I felt that I could do, I still can't sleep. So do you have maybe a remedy, or do you have any recommendations for these drivers that maybe have similar situations that I do, where they just can't sleep the night before?
In my program, I am always full throttle when it comes to evening routines and morning routines. I preach to my clients and to my drivers what I have done throughout the course of my racing career, as well as I could. When you were younger, it was tough, but being a business person now and being very heavily involved in coaching people and, all my responsibilities, I have to be on point with my timing, my time blocking, my structure. And Chris G Coaching is here now because of my routines. Evening routines for men and women, weight loss clients, drivers, whatever, everybody's going to be different, but we find what routine works. And it all boils down to a couple things. Number one, at a certain point every night, you need to shut down. Like no more cell phone. It goes on the charger. Do not disturb. And you do not look at it again for the rest of the night. For me, at 8 o'clock, my phone is on the charger. And for at least an hour straight, I'm family oriented, watching TV, reading a book, whatever it might be to wind down. But on top of it, everything is set up for the next day already. So my to-do list is set up. Drivers have to-do lists. Everybody's got to lay out their gym clothes at night. Everybody's got to lay out their school clothes at night or their work clothes at night. Everything is laid out so that in the morning, there's zero speed bumps. Even if a driver's going to the gym in the afternoon, I still make them lay out their clothes at night. Because what you're doing is you're decompressing all the things that you're going to think about while you're in your head before you go to bed. But by doing all this, you are training your brain. It takes time. Like, you need to find out what works for you, right? You're training your brain to know it's going into shutdown mode. So like my routine is, when I leave my office, my to-do list is set. My gym bag's packed. My headphones are charged. My water bottle for the morning is set, which is right here. You guys see it. It's big. It's all done. It's all filled. My supplements are laid out on the counter. Everything has to be in line. And when you do this over and over, and then the last thing you do is get in bed and go to sleep, your brain starts to understand what's going on. You're getting in this downtime mode, right? Mm-hmm. So and you talked about changing up the routine a little bit. I changed up my routine because I bought a new sauna. Mm-hmm. So that's added in my evening routine now. My brain knows as I'm going through these steps that it's time to wind down. Most people, and I don't know your routine, don't have a routine though. Mm-hmm. And the problem is it's so erratic that when you have these nights before races, there's no routine. It's just, I need to go to bed because I have a race this weekend. And you're on the phone. You're not giving your brain that chance to wind down. So really what it comes down to is you need to start practicing a better standard regular week routine and stick to that, so that when you have your race weekends, you're just doing your regular routine. Mm-hmm. Nothing changes. And that's why my routines, when I go away on the road, when I was working with the race teams, or if I'm in a hotel, if we're on vacation, my routines don't change. I get up early if we're on vacation. I get up early if I'm at a race. I do my workouts. The evening before, my clothes are laid out. As much as I can do while I'm not home with my routine is happening, mm-hmm. so that my brain knows it's time to wind down. And it takes practice. Right. You're not just going to be like, give me some melatonin and what else do you do? Like, no. It's about building that routine. I'm all about routines. And your evening routine is what sets you up for morning success. Morning success is what sets your day up for wins. So,
what's so interesting though? When you said that putting phones away is important, right? A lot of our anxiety came from comparing ourselves to others. But how would you know how other people are doing? By scouting on social media. You see other people, this huge win, this beautiful lap time. But if you're not with your phone, then you wouldn't know that. All you know is how I'm doing, how I'm feeling. So, Chris, are there any things that people don't know about your profession and your coaching program?
Yeah, and I talk about this a lot. The most important part to the Chris G coaching program, everybody always thinks the workouts, right? Everybody always thinks gym and activity and what workouts should I do? What this and what that. The most important part to our program, whether it's a driver, whether it's a weight loss client, muscle building, or just plain old lifestyle wants to get on a better journey, right? A better path for their fitness and health. Accountability is the most important part. Having that team of coaches behind you, having the program in front of you on your app, your Coaching Chris G app. Any trainer, any friend can build you out a workout program. Here, do this, do that. Eat this, eat that. But the most important part is keeping the clients accountable to their commitment to their program that they wanted to crush, right? They want to change their journey for the better.
So you're almost like that parental figure that a lot of people have never had. You're that best friend figure that a lot of people wish that they had.
It depends on the client. Everybody's different. Sometimes people literally need the smack me in the head, Chris. Sometimes people need that, that shoulder to cry on, or that person to just, ask what's going on with certain aspects of their life that they can make, more organized. I'm that person. I'm that friend. I think the biggest thing is being open-minded to take in as much as you can, just like business coaching. Like I have business coaches who I learn from, different tactics and tips. Wow. Like he said, invest in yourself. Learn as much as you can. You said it earlier. You want to be the person who dies with the most knowledge. That's what you said, right?
I said my life philosophy is whoever dies with the most knowledge wins.
Yeah.
So Chris, can people reach out to you on Instagram to ask questions?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
How do they find you?
So I'm at Chris_G_coaching on Instagram. Definitely send me DMs. Let me know that you heard me on the podcast. Ask any questions for sure.
Now, do you have a physical gym, or how does that work?
I have a physical gym that I own. Yes. I don't train people there. I'm not a personal trainer. I'm a coach. So everything's done remotely. But no, I have a physical gym that I own. That's a regular gym. It has, free weights, dumbbells, fitness classes. That's in the town of Rosamond, California. And that's awesome. That's another thing that added to the coaching,
Right next to Willow Springs.
Yes, same town. Yep, same town.
Got it. So you coach online, and do you also follow pro drivers to track on a track day?
I just recently was hired on to Team Vandersteer, and Aston Martin took me on as the performance coach for the Rolex 24. And that was 5 straight days of pretty much fueling the drivers with food. So I love to cook, and that's one of the bonuses about what I do. So what I did there was for 5 straight days, just fueled the drivers constantly with their hydration. I had a whole hydration schedule for each one, a whole meal plan set up as we went throughout the days. And then we did a 24-hour Rolex race.
Wow, got it. Well, at the end of the show, I just want to say a big thank you to you, Chris, for coming on and sharing all these insights.
This has been a lot of fun. I appreciate it. I love doing this stuff. Thank you so much. And thanks for being so professional too, organized and ready to roll. Love it.
Oh, appreciate you. Ryan, thank you so much for coming on again, and really enjoyed your presence and your co-hosting, and hope to have you back again.
Thanks for having me, Jimmy. And Chris, that was very valuable information.
Yeah, it was
Thanks
a blast. No, definitely. Nice meeting you.
Likewise.
Wow, Chris, at the end of the podcast, I just want to say a huge thank you to you again. I think exactly like we said, you're a coach. We all need some guidance in life. One person can only do so much. Where you grew up, the parents that you've got, the school that you went to, there's a limited amount of things that you can learn in the amount of years that you've lived. So meeting people like you is such a fresh breath of air. Whether you're cruising on the freeway or going to your favorite canyon run right now, I do hope you enjoy listening to this episode. Sociology of Cars podcast is produced by Sociology of Everything, supported by 0 to 60 Studios in San Dimas, California. This is Jimmy XAE. I'll see you next time.